Part 13 of exposing a Pisces energy trying to destiny swap with me entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent. They've been intentionally, utmost maliciously doing all the things I'm exposing them for, while intentionally, utmost maliciously, egregiously misrepresenting me as doing it all to them. This time, the reading was only one part, but it explicitly stated part 1 of 1. So it's an energy of trying extremely hard to lock down both planning and execution of a plot against me all at once, while extremely egregiously exploiting my energy for the whole thing. What's going on? As above, so below. Let's see how it goes. So, another case of blatantly egregious divination abuse targeting me. The medium seemed to even be aware that what was being attempted on me was quite unusual and seemed rather unlikely to actually work how it was intended by the attackers. The use of an old deck in the reading suggests to me that it was rather evident to the medium that this was something that was obsessively, excessively attempting to heavily draw on old energies, old events, past experiences, that kind of thing. I get the vibe that the curiosity the medium was expressing was probably a lot less malicious in nature, if at all, compared to the attackers. Both 4444 and 1111 are significant to that reading. They are not and have never been particularly significant to me personally, though. There might be an instability in the home or a transition to a new home. Do what you can to settle in and ground yourself in the current environment, even if it's a temporary home, okay? So they've intentionally, almost maliciously, been causing confusion between if there might be an instability in anywhere I might call home, and if there's instability in any potential transition to somewhere different or new that I might want to call home, or might be trying to make a home for me somehow. They're desperately dependent on others' validation for if they should try to do what they can to settle in and ground themselves in their current environment, even if it's a temporary home. And they're also probably desperately dependent on others' validation for if it makes any real sense to even possibly believe I might also be struggling with that. Money is slipping through your fingertips right now, okay? It's your spending habits exceed your saving habits, okay? You may be spending unconsciously, hoping it will bring happiness, create a positive relationship with money. So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if money is slipping through their fingertips in every moment or not, and also if that's the case for me, to see if their attacks against me have been working. They've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if their spending habits exceed their saving habits, and also if mine are, to see if their attacks against me have been working. They've intentionally, almost maliciously, been causing confusion around if I ever spend money unconsciously in some foolish hope it'll bring me happiness somehow eventually. And they've needed a humbling on their negative relationship with money while trying to hide it by making me seem as if I do. All those things are probably also true about energy as well, and they've probably been hoping to egregiously exploit some extremely false misconception they've tried to purport about me, as if I've horrendously failed to recognize the connection between money and energy. I feel like you're in a place where you're deeply satisfied with everything around you. The planets have aligned and you have everything you've wished for, or you will, okay? So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if they have everything they've wished for or they will, especially when trying to determine if their plotting against me has been working. And they've also been desperately dependent on others' validation for if I have everything I've wished for or I will as well, but only to determine if they should change how they're plotting against me if I'm succeeding despite their attacks. They might also be so egregiously divination abusing that they consider some perception they might have of planets being in alignment as relevant to those things, but I'm really not sure how significant that part exactly might be. Count your blessings and express gratitude for what you have created for yourself. I feel like you used to look on the outside for happiness, but really, really look within. So they've been trying extremely hard to make it look like I should be or am desperately dependent on external validation somehow for if I should count my blessings or somehow express gratitude for the life I actually have been trying to create for myself. They've been extremely desperate to make it look like I'm supposedly always learning or in need of learning some kind of lesson from them because of me supposedly excessively looking externally for happiness to a fault instead of adequately looking within myself for a clear view on that before endeavoring externally towards whatever I'm doing. Because they've desperately been trying to hide their own shortcomings in that aspect. You have a conscious mind and you love to ask questions, okay? And you love to learn new things. So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if they seem like they have a conscious mind and if that's seemingly proven by their seeming love to ask questions. And they've been hiding it by making it seem like I have some secret intense aversion to learning new things. You are a natural communicator and ready to take the next step to share your messages with the world, alright? This is after holding back and expressing your truth finally, okay? So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if I seem like I'm ready to take some next step to share some kind of message with the world more. And they've been trying to endlessly exploit this by intentionally, almost maliciously, trying to cause confusion around if some kind of perception of me holding back somehow is secretly expressing some kind of truth that somehow compromises my integrity. And they've been hiding it by themselves constantly, intentionally, almost maliciously, causing confusion around if some perception of them holding back somehow is secretly expressing some kind of truth that somehow strengthens a falsified image of their supposed integrity. And especially in public, you don't like public speaking. You prefer to express your thoughts and opinions privately and anonymously. So they've been egregiously misrepresenting me as particularly disliking public speaking and making it seem as if I greatly prefer and have a tendency to privately and perhaps also even regularly anonymously express thoughts and opinions I supposedly have. Because they've desperately been trying to hide the reality of their own lives as such. You are in a state of transition, okay? You are leaving behind what is familiar and uncomfortable, comfortable, to move towards the unknown. So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if they're in a state of transition somehow. And they've also been desperately dependent on others' validation for if it seems like I'm in a state of transition somehow. They've been trying to force me to leave behind everything I consider familiar and comfortable in order to gain familiarity and comfort for themselves while I'm left in completely unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory that's utmost detrimental to me. They've generally been egregiously misrepresenting what kind of discomfort exactly is familiar to me. This is essential for your growth, okay? This is after resisting change and seeking what is familiar, even though it's not in your best interest, okay? So they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if whatever hardships they endure are essential for their growth. And they've also been desperately dependent on others' validation for if whatever hardships I endure seem to be essential for my growth, even if they in reality fully know that they aren't at all and actually are just completely detrimental to me, and even when it's so extreme that it's literally in the most severe manner ever possible. And they've been trying to hide these things by trying to endlessly exploit their desperate dependence on others' validation for if I seem like I've been resisting change and seeking what's familiar, even though it's not in my best interest. All because they've, in reality, been heavily resisting change, and they've been seeking what's familiar entirely, regardless of whether it's in their best interest or not. The change may not have been your choice either way, but going within to reaffirm yourself while you need to make this transition is what you had to do, and you did it. So they've intentionally, utmost maliciously, been trying to make it seem like I've intentionally, utmost maliciously tried to force them into positions where they didn't have any real choice but to deal with unfamiliarity and or discomfort, perhaps also claiming I intentionally, utmost maliciously tried to leave them feeling deeply insecure about how to proceed in that state. While in reality, they always knew, or at the very least didn't ever really have any adequate evidence to believe otherwise then, that there was absolutely no real malice towards them from my end if I ever ended up somehow putting them in any unfamiliar and or uncomfortable situations. And they've been trying to endlessly hide their desperate dependence on others' validation for if it seems like they've adequately gone within and reaffirmed to themselves that they adequately made whatever transition they needed to, by making it seem like I haven't, even if they know, or at the very least probably should have known, that I'm not at all lacking like that. This is a new beginning, a new journey. You're now approaching life with these new opportunities, a new beginning, and it's all available to you, okay? So they've really been trying to steal any kind of new beginning from me, even one I fully deserve as a result of breaking out of their extreme, intentional, utmost malicious abuse towards me. While they've been trying to egregiously misrepresent what kind of new beginning or new journeys I might ever actually want to have. And they've been desperately dependent on others' validation for if it's still somehow available to them to have a possibility to keep doing their abuse to me, as well as if I even still have the possibility to ever really fully escape it. Be open-minded and curious, ready to explore and discover new things. Play, have fun, and be spontaneous. Enjoy. So they've hidden all their toxicity towards me all along by trying to make me seem secretly extremely close-minded in an extremely unhealthy manner and severely lacking in genuine, healthy curiosity. They want me extremely unhealthily attached somehow to exploring, discovering new things, playing around, having fun, and being spontaneous. Because they desperately want to hide their own extremely unhealthy attachment to those things. And they've been trying extremely hard to hide that they secretly, extremely disgustingly, diabolically enjoy doing all these absolutely diabolical, abusive things to me, and secretly have always hoped to torment and terrorize me to literal death as a result of it all.